Kids today, they're not just crossing borders, they're crossing identities. One year they might be the Indian kid, the next, the new foreign student, and then maybe even the returning expat. This constant shifting, it creates a really unique and often silent challenge. So let's dive in and explore how we can help build a really solid sense of self for kids who are navigating this incredibly complex world. Because somewhere along that journey, this quiet but really powerful question starts to bubble up in their minds. Where do I really belong? And look, this isn't just about geography or what country you're in. It's about finding an internal anchor in a world that just keeps changing around you. And this isn't just some abstract idea, right? Let me tell you about Anyanya. She's 15. She was born in India, went to school in Dubai, and now she's in the UK. On the surface, she's amazing, confident, adapts super fast, has friends all over the place. But here's the thing she told her mom. I don't feel fully from anywhere. It's this crazy paradox of belonging everywhere and nowhere, all at the same time. Anonia's story, it just hits the nail on the head. It points to the very core of this silent crisis. What we see on the outside is this high adaptability, a kid who can fit in pretty much anywhere. But underneath, there's often low rootedness, a missing sense of a stable core self. And that imbalance, that's exactly what we're going to break down in this explainer. So, to really get a handle on this, let's think about it like this. There are two different ways kids develop their identity. We can use a pretty powerful metaphor here. One path is all about growing deep roots, and the other is about developing strong wings. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. On one side, you've got the rooted child. Think of a kid in a national education system like India's CBSE. They grow up surrounded by a strong, single cultural context. They have these clear, shared stories, and there's a real sense of stability. Then, on the other side, you have the adaptable child, maybe from an international system like the IB. They're comfortable anywhere in the world. They get multiple perspectives, and they're just open to constant change. And here's the kicker. Both are amazing in their own ways, but they each have their own hidden Achilles heel. All right, so let's start with the rooted kid. What actually happens when those really strong roots are suddenly yanked out of their familiar soil? What happens when that child is transplanted into a completely new world?
Well, they go through something we can call an identity shock, and it's intense. Suddenly, everything that defined their world is just different. The social rules are new, the way you talk to teachers is different, what your friends think is funny or polite, it's all been flipped upside down. Their identity, which felt so solid back home, now feels like it was totally dependent on that place, not something they actually carry inside them.
And you can just imagine the devastating question that pops into their head. They're thinking, wait a minute, I was a leader back there. I was funny. I was confident. Why am I completely invisible here? I mean, talk about a crisis of confidence. It's just incredibly isolating. And this is so important to understand. The biggest danger here isn't that they won't adapt. The real danger is that they'll try too hard to adapt. They'll over-adapt. In this desperate attempt to fit in, they might start hiding their accent, suppressing their culture, not telling their stories. And this isn't healthy assimilation. It's a form of self-erasure. And it's just incredibly damaging. Okay, so that's the rooted child. But what about the other side of the coin? The kid with the strong wings. They seem to just glide through the world so easily, but there's a hidden challenge here too, a kind of emptiness that can come with having those wings. I mean, from the outside looking in, these kids have it made, right? They are absolute pros at moving. They walk into a new country without any fear. They can talk to anyone from any background, and they pretty much feel normal wherever they go. They almost never get that jarring culture shock. But, and this is a big but, there's a paradox here.
And this just says it all. Their comfort in any given place is not the same thing as a deep sense of belonging. See, being able to function smoothly in a culture, that's a skill. But feeling truly connected to it, to its people, to its heart, that's something else entirely.
And the thing is, the real price of this rootlessness, it often doesn't show up until much later in life. You ask them that simple question, where's home? And they just can't answer it. They might make friends easily, but the attachments can be a bit weak, leading to this feeling of shallow belonging. And this can create a kind of emotional drift when they're adults, a constant feeling of being a little bit untethered. So look, it doesn't matter if you're talking about a kid with deep roots who has to move, or a kid with strong wings who needs somewhere to land. The solution is actually the same. We need to shift from just defining the problem to finding an actionable solution. So let's look at a framework for forging the anchors that every single global child needs.
And it all starts with this one massive idea. For our parents or grandparents, identity was often something you just inherited. But for this generation of global kids, it has to be intentionally constructed. You just can't assume it's going to happen by itself. Parents have to be the architects of that foundation, brick by brick. So how do you do that? Well, here are the building blocks. Let's call them the 7 identity anchors. First, the language anchor, having a mother tongue that connects you to deep emotion. Second, the story anchor, knowing the stories of your family, where you come from. Third, the value anchor, a clear moral compass that works anywhere in the world. Fourth, the cultural anchor, those rituals, that food, the festivals that feel like home. Fifth, the relationship anchor, stable, loving bonds that cross any distance. Sixth, the competence anchor, knowing deep down, I am good at something, no matter where I am. And finally, the purpose anchor, having a sense of meaning that isn't tied to a specific zip code. And what happens when you build these anchors? Well, you completely flip the script on what belonging even means. It stops being something you have to search for on the outside in a country or a school, and it becomes something you build from the inside out. Which brings us to this really powerful new way of looking at identity. Look, identity isn't about the color of your passport. It is the continuity of self, that feeling that you are the same core person across time and across borders. It's the thread that connects your past, your present, and your future. And let's be super clear about this. The goal here is never to replace or erase a child's original identity. For the rooted child, it's about expanding who they are to include all these new experiences. And for the child with wings, it's about building a core identity they can finally carry with them. It's all about addition, not subtraction. And that right there is the big takeaway. It's so empowering when you think about it. When we get this right, the result is extraordinary. Children who have a strong internal sense of who they are don't need to find a place to belong. They bring their belonging with them. They can belong anywhere. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question to think about, especially for the children in your life. When you look at those 7 anchors, which one will you start building or maybe strengthening first?